So we'll go ahead and get started here. And essentially, I'm Tabitha Taylor. I am one of the attorneys here with Bryant Taylor Law, and I'm here with my partner, Sam Bryant.
Hey, everyone.
And so we're business law attorneys. We're based out of South Florida, but essentially we're here to help show you how you can protect your business legacy. And I'm assuming you're here today to learn how to protect that legacy, probably because you yourself are a business owner. And so you've worked hard to build your business. Building a business is a challenge. It's probably one of, if not the most difficult thing that you've ever done in your career. But it's also one of the most rewarding things that you can do. Now, maybe you started with some money in the bank when you first formed your company. Maybe you even bought out somebody else's, or perhaps you built it from scratch, from the ground up. But I can tell you one thing that I do know is that you took a risk, because business ownership is one of the most rewarding but risky things that you can do. And there's probably some days where you didn't know where your revenue was going to come from, or you had some stressful nights making sure that you can cover payroll because you care about your employees. You genuinely care about this business that you're building. And if I had to guess, your actual business days go a little something like this. You wake up in the morning, maybe you have some coffee, cereal, oatmeal, whatever your day goes, morning routine is. If you have kids, you get them ready for school. If you have dogs, you're taking them for walks. And then you kind of get straight to it. You start hustling. You get right into business owner mode. Nowadays, everyone wakes up and checks their phone first thing in the morning. So maybe you're answering emails immediately. And that pretty much continues throughout the day. Fires pop up, you have a plan for your day. Okay, this is what I'm going to accomplish. This is how I'm going to do it. And then that plan goes out the window probably somewhere around 11 a.m. So right around now, your plan's probably going to go out the window, and you just keep putting out those fires. And if it requires, you wear whatever hat comes your way. You have to be the marketer today. All right, you're going to be in marketing. If you have to be the sales associate, that's you. If you have to handle HR, all right, you're going to handle some employee disputes. And then you go home and you do it all over again the next day. That's business ownership. And so, most of you might still be in this phase right now where you're hustling day in, day out to build it. There's an adage that I heard once, and it says that employees work 9 to 5, business owners work 24/7. And I'm pretty sure some days it feels like you literally worked all hours of the day. In reality, it's pretty much not an exaggeration. You may not be physically, literally working at your business 24 hours or however many hours you're awake throughout the day, but your business is probably on your mind almost every waking hour. So you're either attending a webinar like this to learn how to protect your business, or you're strategizing new marketing techniques while you're cooking dinner or wrangling the kids or taking the dogs for a walk. You're doing something. And the point here is that your business is a living being, and it's part of you, and it's always on your mind. So why do you keep going? Why do you do it all? Day after day after day. You could have closed up shop a long time ago. You could have stayed at the 9 to 5. And honestly, you probably could have clocked out and been like most people, where you just go home and you leave work. But it's because you wanted to create something. Maybe you did it intentionally or unintentionally, but you created a valuable asset for yourself. And essentially what you created, whether you knew it or not, was the beginning of your legacy. So I'm going to ask you, what does legacy mean to you? Now, go ahead, take a few seconds and drop it in the chat if you can. What exactly does legacy mean to you? Does it mean that your name is on the sign outside, or that people see you in the community when you're able to give back to certain organizations because you take some of the profit that your company makes every year and you donate it? Does it mean that you get to have the flexibility of attending your kids' soccer games? Or does it mean what I think it probably means is something that's going to be around long after you no longer are? That's generally what I hear when we talk to our business owners. I want this to last. I worked so hard and I sacrificed, because being a business owner is about sacrifice. And it's a rewarding sacrifice, but sacrifice nonetheless. And you don't want it to just disappear. You want it to survive long after you're gone. Now, there's a couple ways that you can make that happen. Now, the first is with your retirement. So, we've got some great answers here. Passing it on to your kids, leaving something behind once you're gone, leaving it the people that you want to leave it to, and yes, giving it to charity for sure. So here's how you do that. There's two main ways that we talk about with our clients. The first is you can have it fund your retirement. You can build up something that becomes such a valuable asset that you sell it when you're ready to retire. Whether you want to retire early at 45, 50, 55, or you want to hit that prime retirement age and retire in your early 60s. Either way, you have created this asset, and there's so much that goes into this asset, which is a conversation for another day. But just to give you a snippet, you have the intellectual property that you can license out, sell to someone else. Maybe you own the physical building, your book of business. All of these are valuable parts of the overall asset. Now, you can sell that. You can use it to fund your retirement, and you can even put some away and leave it behind to your children, if that's the part that you really want to do. However, you can also use it to create generational wealth. Now, generational wealth can be created by selling your company and leaving that fund for, leaving part of your retirement fund for your next generation through a trust. So that certainly plays into the creation of generational wealth, right? You're leaving your children something to start with. But you could also leave them a company that's already valuable, already fully functioning, and well-oiled machine. And that is huge. They can take over your business. And this is actually what a majority of business owners want to do. They want to leave their company to their children. Now, if their children ultimately decide to sell it later, that's, again, a different conversation for another day. But it's an option. You're giving your future generations options that you may not have had. And that's what generational wealth is all about, that freedom that you're giving to the people you're leaving behind. And your name is always going to be attached to that. So let me ask you, we're going to open up a poll here, and I want you to answer this question. How do you plan on using your business? Do you want to fund your retirement? So like I said, you want to sell the business while you're still with us and use some of that money to really enjoy life? Do you want to use it to create that generational wealth and help create that legacy that's going to stay behind, so that your name still stays up there? We see, you see Walmart. You see, what other companies? Sam, help me out here.
Well, there's what? Oh man, I just had it. I used to do it.
You got the Vanderbilts. You've got all of these large companies that end up on names, on buildings that stay there for decades after the original creators are gone. And you know how that happens? Through the creation of generational wealth. They're passing down that business to the next generation. And again, they can ultimately sell it, but if that business stays a well-oiled machine and it just keeps running and running and running, think Hilton, right? That Hilton brand is now a brand. The initial original creator out of the picture for the most part, right? But 50, 60, 300 years from now, assuming, we're still living the kind of lives we live now, that Hilton name is still going to be there. So it looks like, it's a pretty split right now on this poll. All of you have either said it's fund retirement or create generational wealth. And that's what from the beginning, that was my prediction here. It's going to be one of those two. Very rarely is it another option. And the other options, just, to put some ideas in your head, other options are you just want to continue working. You don't really want to do anything with the business. You don't want to sell it. You don't want to do anything with it. You're perfectly fine with it going away. This is just to earn a living. And you know why that's really never the answer? Because for that, you're going to go work a 9 to 5. For that, you're going to go work for somebody else. That's not why you created your business. You created your business and you worked hard to create your business so that you can leave a legacy. Don't let it die with you. Because if you don't have the proper planning in place, again, which is why you're here today, you took that first step to learn what you need to do to put that planning in place. Unfortunately, your business will die with you. Now, I want to give you some statistics, and these are not the best statistics, honestly. When when we first started getting into the succession planning a couple years ago, when we had clients coming to us and a lot of their concerns came up, and we really started researching this, it was very alarming, the amount of business owners that came to us saying, I want to leave this behind to my children. 70% of business owners, which honestly, I'm looking at the polls right now, and out of, we've a ton of attendees right now, 62% of you said that you want to leave your business behind to your children. 37% said you wanted to fund retirement. So you guys are pretty on par with the general population across the country. So across the country, 70% of small business owners said they wanted to leave their company behind to their children. Do you know how many actually put a plan in place and did that? 15%, 1-5. So statistically speaking, only 15% of you here today are going to take that next step. But you're actually in the minority here, because just by attending, you are part of the 15%. You are taking actions to learn what you need to actually do to leave your business behind to your children. Now, compare that to the affluent business owners. This is not your everyday, I started my company from scratch and I need a business attorney like Sam and Tabitha. This is your Hiltons. This is your Vanderbilts. This is your, oh my God, who is that person that just flew up in Jeff Bezos' spaceship? I've never heard of this person that bid on $1 billion ticket, secret millionaires. These affluent business owners, their percentages are strikingly different. You had 90% of them state that they wanted to leave their company behind to their children, and 70% took the steps to get a business succession plan in place to do so. That is how generational wealth is created and maintained in this country. And that is why, unfortunately, you have 70% of small businesses that could go to the creation of generational wealth die with their business owners. And only 15, that small percentage, actually moves on. Now, I'm assuming around this part, you're a little overwhelmed thinking, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what a business succession plan is. I don't really have time to do this. Tabitha just finished telling me how busy I am every single day. I can't handle this. I don't have the money for this. And I don't even want to think about me passing. I just want to enjoy my life. Well, that's where business attorneys come in. That's where we come in. And really and truly, that's why you're here today. So you're going to learn so many different things today while you're with us. The three main takeaways that I want you to have is, one, it's possible. A business succession plan is where you put your goals and turn them into reality. So you go from that 62%, that 70% across the country, and you become that 15%. It's possible. You're also going to learn it's pretty painless. It really does not take that much. We do all the heavy lifting, or any other business attorney that does succession planning, your attorney is going to do your heavy lifting. And you're going to have a team of professionals. Your business attorneys are going to, whether you have your team of professionals already in place, such as financial planners, estate planners, etc., or your business attorney is going to get that team in place for you. And they do all the heavy lifting. They do everything. And at the end of the day, what do you get from it? You're going to get the peace of mind of knowing that if something were to happen to you tomorrow, your legacy is in place and it's not going anywhere. Now, here's a little about us. I know we kind of jumped into you because really you're the focus of today. But some of you may not be familiar with us. And so we just wanted to take a quick second to give you a little bit about our background. So like I mentioned, my name's Tabitha Taylor. I'm one of the managing attorneys here with Bryant Taylor Law. And just so you understand why I'm so passionate about business owners protecting their legacy and creating that generational wealth, is because I started my business with nothing. I'm a first generation American here. My parents weren't born in this country. My mother's from Mexico, my father's from Cuba, and they both came here. And what did they do? They started their own companies, but they had no idea what they were doing, which is honestly what a lot of business owners that we see do. They're just really good at doing something and they create a business from it and it becomes successful, but they don't protect it. They don't put plans in place to leave it to their children so that their children can start with something and not have to go through the same cycle over and over again. And so when I went to law school, I knew I wanted to be able to take the lessons I saw from my parents and help other people so that their children don't have to learn from their parents. We can just help put their protection in place. And that way their children have all these other options and that flexibility and freedom that I was telling you about earlier. Well, Sam's got a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, so I, like Tabitha, a child of entrepreneurs. Both my parents had their own businesses. But unfortunately, my story is a little bit different. I'm going to tell you a story about my dad later on in the webinar, but I'll tell you about my mom right now. My mom, she was a single mom with myself and my two sisters, and she had the entrepreneurial spirit to the T. It didn't take her a lot to jump into something, but unfortunately, she didn't really know exactly how to move from step to step. So she would start businesses, but could not actually execute properly to kind of maintain it. So as a child of an entrepreneur, I get to see the excitement that she would go through, but I also saw the lows. And unfortunately, those decisions ended up having myself and my sisters, and we moved 16 times in about 14 years, from the time I was born to the time I was 14. So bouncing place to place because of the instability of the lifestyle that my mom unfortunately had for us. I love my mom. I love the childhood we had, but those lessons, I actually internalized that as a kid because I actually got bit by the same bug that she had. But I told myself that I'm not going to make those same mistakes. I wanted to know the rules of the game because I realized early on that my mom was playing a game that she didn't know the rules to. So that kind of inspired me to go to law school to learn these rules. And then when I had the opportunity to start the firm at Tabitha, it gave me that inspiration to really take those lessons and run with them. So for my mom's legacy, I believe her legacy is instilling the motivation in me to do better and to really provide a legacy that my children can have, and that I can leave behind at least a business for my children if I want to do that, or at the very least help other entrepreneurs avoid the same mistakes that my mom did, so that your children don't have to have the same experiences that I had as a child.
And so, we really commend everyone here for attending this webinar because, unfortunately, and we love our parents dearly, but you are taking the steps that our parents didn't take or didn't know to take. My parents, again, being immigrants to the country, didn't have all of the resources that I have now. And I appreciate the sacrifices they made for me. And now I can help empower others, same as Sam. And you guys are here today so that, again, you can take these lessons and hopefully internalize them and act on them. And so let me give you a little bit about what succession planning is in a nutshell. So succession planning for your business, it's about not only protecting your legacy, but it's creating a framework to protect the value of your business and to ensure its continued existence after the primary owner leaves. So by what I mean by the primary owner leaving, it doesn't necessarily mean you pass away. It could mean if you're in that former category where you want to retire and sell it to someone else, you're still the primary owner leaving. So your succession plan puts a plan in place so that once we remove you from the picture, your company can keep going. You sell it to someone else, they can keep running the same company. That's the premium that they're paying for that company. Second is maybe you do pass away and you want to leave it to your children. And so the company continues to run. Now, the benefits of having that business succession plan, if it's executed correctly, is that your key employees are going to have that confidence of knowing it doesn't matter what happens. I still have a job, and their loyalty stays there. And you also get that same confidence from your lenders. If you, for instance, if you own a building, if you have equipment that your company leases or does like a rent to own, your lenders aren't going to pull out. They're not going to accelerate that note immediately, because you're already going to know that, or they're already going to know that there's a plan in place. So they're still going to get paid. At the end of the day, that's what they care about, right? I mean, they care about you, but really and truly, they want to feed their families. They want to keep, making sure that they can get paid. And so without this plan, and unfortunately, we've seen it happen. We have clients who've come to us after the fact where the main owner passes away, the employees leave. The independent contractors leave. They don't complete projects anymore. Why? Because they don't have the guarantee of payment. And now your business is being devalued every single day. So the benefit of that business succession plan, you instill that confidence in them. And because that confidence is there, they stay with you, which continues to increase the value of your company. Your company continues to operate, so projects are still getting completed, sales are still being made, and you have that peace of mind of knowing your company's not going to die with you. So what are the consequences of not having a plan? I kind of already touched on some of them. But if you don't have a business succession plan in place, the business is effectively out of your hands once you're gone. So maybe you have an estate plan, and which is a great thing to have. You have a will, maybe you have a trust to leave your personal property to your children. But a business is not the same as your personal property. And more likely than not, your estate plan, if it doesn't incorporate your business succession plan into it, your business interest is probably going to go through probate. And what that means is that it's got to go through this long, lengthy court procedure. And who's running your business in the meantime? Because your business interest can't be allocated to your children or to your family until the court stamps that final order and says, all right, now you can distribute everything, sell off all of the equipment and liquidate the assets and give the money to the kids or the spouse. You can't do that until you get to the final stage, and the court process is incredibly slow. It is not the most efficient thing in the world. And is your business going to survive that process? Probably not. You put your legacy in jeopardy by not having a business succession plan. It can also delay transitions in ownership. So if you do want to pass it on to someone, maybe your business is going to get bought out while you're going through that transition, that probate process, it is going to threaten that transition. You also can create like conflict between, maybe you have remaining business owners, maybe you're not the only partner. You may have a 50-50 partner or a minority partner. And now you have that conflict because that partner is trying to keep the company alive, but they're a minority partner, so they're not even getting the full benefits of everything. There's a domino effect, basically, of consequences to not having a plan in place. And so I want to touch on this a little deeper, because we've had clients come to us and say, oh, it's okay, I've got an estate plan. Well, I commend you for having a estate plan. 60% of Americans do not have an estate plan. You absolutely should for your personal interest. But your personal belongings are very different from your business interest. And so unlike most of your personal belongings, your ownership interest in a small business, it's not typically dealt with through just basic estate planning. You actually have to pay special attention to how you want your business handled if anything should happen to you. So for instance, maybe you only want to leave the economic interest, so the money. You want to share and distribute the money that the company makes to your children equally, but you want to leave the decision-making about the business to your spouse or just one child, because that child happens to be more responsible. There's just so much involved. And although an estate planning attorney is incredibly helpful for advising on your personal affairs, they don't know and understand how businesses operate. Typically speaking, there's always an exception to a rule, but typically they don't know and understand how a business operates because they don't work with businesses as intimately as a business lawyer does. So I wanted you to think about all these things. Have you really considered what would happen if you became incapacitated? We're not just talking about if you pass away. What if you're in an accident and, worst case scenario, you're paraplegic, but what if you can't use your legs anymore, or you can't use your right hand, and your right hand is what you need to create those widgets for your company? Who is going to be able to run your payroll? Who's going to sign your checks if you're in the hospital for 6 months? Who's going to manage your staff? If anything that the last year and a half has taught us is that business owners did not plan for the unexpected. And a lot of businesses went under because something happened. They had to be hospitalized for a certain amount of time, and they didn't have contingency plans in place. Who has access to the company bank accounts? Is it just you? Who's going to pay your overhead to make sure your vendors get paid so that they don't up and leave? These are all considerations. And, what happens if you do unexpectedly pass away? There's likely going to be value in the business when you pass, and you want to make sure that that business stays there. So again, make sure that it continues to operate so it can keep providing that profit for your future generations. More likely than not, without a business succession plan, the value of that business is going to go down. Before your estate plan can even get carried out. And I touched on it. I'm not going to, kind of hammer this into you because I feel like you all really understand what we're getting at here. But once your employees leave and your contracts can't be carried out, your business is going to stop operating altogether. And that's likely going to happen before your estate plan goes all the way through probate. So here's what you want to know, right? What can you actually do today to protect the legacy that you're working so hard to build? And it's simple. You plan your exit. Do you want to retire or do you want to sell it? These are conversations that you and your business attorney, your business succession planning attorney will have. And you'll figure out what's best for you and your actual goals. Then, depending on which one of those you want, you're going to identify successors, which a successor could be a potential buyer, if that's what you want. It could be your spouse and children. It could actually even be your employees. You can have your employees buy your company from you and just keep collecting that check every month or every quarter, however we set it up for you, so that you can live off of that retirement. But having a plan means nothing unless it's actually executed and you have that team in your corner to make sure that if you are no longer here, it actually gets carried out. Now, what is a business succession plan? I keep using these words and I'm sure you have no idea what I'm talking about. Really, it's a compilation of these 6 things. The first step is the business continuation plan. Now, this is a part of the puzzle. So step 1 is that business continuation plan. You make sure that if the unexpected happened, before we even get to your full entire plan in completion, you have something in place so that if you get incapacitated or pass away tomorrow, you don't have to worry. You've got everything here. You've got your owner planned exit. This is I want to use my company to retire, or I want to leave it to my children, your actual plan. That includes, review of your internal documents and your policies. Do you have a buy-sell agreement? Do you have instructions for management on how you do your day-to-day? Because a lot of the vital information on how your company runs is all in here. If I took you out of it, who can I put in your place? If the answer is nobody, or this person has a little bit of information and a little bit of information, then you don't have a plan in place. And so it's a review of making sure we have that instruction for management, going through your corporate resolutions, all of those boring things to you, fun stuff to us. And then it's also looking through your insurance policies, collaborating on an estate plan if you have one, and going through the rest of your contracts. So the employment agreements, if you have any personal guarantees, did you know that those can be accelerated upon your death? Yeah, there's so many different contingencies. And so essentially, you're going to start with step 1. Now, step 1, it's just the first piece of your overall succession plan. Like I mentioned, it's a legal document that describes the business continuation measures and how they're supposed to be implemented. It might include schedules. It might even have to be updated from time to time, depending on how your business changes. But this is the plan on worst case scenario, what happens. Think of it like a power of attorney, but for your company. Then you've got step 2. This is where you build out your planned exit. And we really sit down and we do the analysis of your company. And so step 2 is where we work together. We're going to work together on your continuation plan, but now we work together on your planned exit, and we evaluate what's the current structure of your company, thinking about when do you plan on stop working? When, do you want the business to provide for you during your retirement, or do you just want to sell it and take that chunk of change? What does retirement actually look like for you? Let's figure that out. Do you already have that plan with your financial planner? Let's bring them on board and let's figure that out together so that we can marry that decision with your company. If it includes the sale of the business, then that means we got to get a business valuation done. I'm not here to overwhelm you. I'm here to let you know all of the heavy lifting that someone like us, a business attorney, is going to do for you. Again, I told you it's simple, it's going to be painless. Why? Because all of these steps that I'm listing out for you are not steps that you do. They're just considerations, and then we take that and we run with it and we create your plan for you. If you tell me, Tabitha, when my company reaches $5 million in revenue, I'm ready to retire, whether I'm 41 or 61, that's my target number. And my total owner benefit is going to be, I want to be able to take out, sell it for at least 4 million and use that to retire, leave 2 to my kids and 2 for me. Fine, we can make that work. But we identify what that number is, because likely you're like, yeah, I want to leave it to my kids, but you've never actually figured out what that looks like. We help you with that. Now in step 3, this is where, honestly, this is my favorite part. I love contract analysis. So we will go through your contracts, make sure that you don't have any provisions that might mess up your plan. So like I said, those acceleration clauses with your lenders, if you have any employment agreements that, might trigger certain provisions that we didn't plan for, we basically create the plan that works best for you. And, we make sure that it gets executed. So how can a business succession planning attorney help? Honestly, you guys should have all of these answers by now, because I think I've repeated it multiple times. We give you the peace of mind. That's the takeaway. We give you the peace of mind. We create the plan that fits you. Everyone's going to be different. We help you strategize the right plan for you, and then we draft it and we enforce it. We help you enforce it. Of course, I can draft contracts for my clients all day long, and if they never sign them, they never use them in their business, there's only so much I can do. It's the adage of you can lead a horse to water, can't force it to drink. But we're here as a resource to help you enforce it so that when you pass, you know that you've got everything taken care of. Now, I really hope that these are your main takeaways today, that the key to protecting that legacy that all of you want is to getting a business succession plan in place. And the business succession plan can help you now, because with step 1 of that is the business continuation plan, which at least gives you the peace of mind that if something were to happen tomorrow, your business is not going to die with you. And so, it takes a village to properly execute it. We're part of your village. Think of us as your leaders here, and you just have to sit back, relax, and we do all the heavy lifting.
So if you made it through this part of the presentation, you may be on board, you may be thinking, all right, this sounds good, let's go, let's roll. But that's really just cut to the chase. How much is this going to cost? So again, like we said, the first part of that process is really just getting the continuation plan in place. This is how we present things. It is just focus on that. Focus on a continuation plan. Worry about the rest of the succession plan first, because it makes no sense in building out this whole scheme on how your business is going to run 20 years from now when your business is in jeopardy of tanking because of an unexpected event 2 days from now. So we just say focus on step 1. That's the first thing we focus on. So then you think about, okay, well, how much is step 1 going to cost? Before we get to that discussion, I promise you, Tabitha will discuss that. But I do want you to answer this question. We discussed earlier, what is your business legacy? What does legacy really mean to you? But I think a better question is, what is your legacy worth to you? So, for example, if you take home $100,000 from your business and your family depends on that money, what would it be worth to you to ensure that that money keeps coming in for an unexpected event? Could it be $5,000 to ensure that you will make $100,000 next year? Is it 20, 30, 40? I can't answer that question for you. But what I can say is the continuation plan is supposed to answer that question. It answers the question of, if something were to happen, how does my family get that $100,000 next year? And to really kind of hone this in, I told you earlier that I would tell you a story about my dad. So I told you about my mom. Now let me tell you about my dad. So my dad worked for FPL for about 35 years and then decided to start his own business where he would install window dressings in homes. And when I was about 10 years old, he named the company MC Verticals because MC was his nickname. And he told me one day when he was driving with me to one of his jobs, he said, "I'm going to leave this business to you one day. This is going to be your company." And 25 years later, that stuck with me. But as you see, I'm not the owner of MC Verticals. So what happened, my dad got hurt about a year after. He got hurt, injured his back, and could no longer work. And he was just him in the company. He had a great client base. He had a great reputation in the community. But he ended up having to pass along his customers to a friend who took over the business. That friend renamed the business, and the business still exists today, but my family name isn't on it. My dad did not get the benefit of the revenue that that company has been generating for 25 years. Our family doesn't get any benefit from that. So, as we discuss these continuation plans and this legacy and succession plans, you've already said that legacy means something to you. We've already discussed what that really entails, but really think about, what is that worth to you?
And so, here's where the continuation plan comes into place. And this is the step one part. And honestly, this is the part that would have protected that company for Sam's dad. So for the business continuation plan, you're going to get the clarity. Working with us, that's immediately what we're going to give you. We're going to tell you on how to fully protect your legacy and give you step by step. We're going to carry out those steps. We're going to educate you all along the way, and we're going to work together to make that plan for you. If you're not, I know that we've got a lot of clients on here, but many of you are not existing clients as well. So if you haven't already worked with us, you'll learn very quickly that we value our clients. We love building relationships and watching your companies grow. We just had a client call us the other day just to tell us that he had a baby and then send pictures, which we love things like that. We love that familial relationship with our clients. And so that's what you're getting when you get Bryant Taylor Law. And you'll always receive that service from us. And along with that is that peace of mind. You get access to us. So we are very upfront about our scheduling and how we take our calls. And when our client needs us, we're there. So, you have access to both Sam and I. Usually you're assigned one attorney, but you have access to the firm, and email us whenever you need something. We'll get a call scheduled and make sure that your concerns are taken care of if you have any at that time. And we provide the predictable pricing. So like Sam said, I'm going to get to the point here. You want to know how much this costs. So we operate on a flat fee basis. There are some random things that we do hourly rates, but for the most part, our services are flat fee. This is no exception. And so the business continuation plan, so that you have that step one piece of the puzzle, it's a flat fee of $2,500. That gives you the unlimited communication with us. So every step of the way, and that doesn't matter how complex your business is. Are you a one-person operation with just vendors, independent contractors, and you want to protect it? Or do you have a 50-person team and a business partner and employees that you need to cover payroll for every single, pay period? It's still the same fee. And why? Because we give every single client the same level of care. We're going to sit there and figure out what plan works best for you and your situation. Maybe you don't have children and you don't want to leave anything behind to your siblings or your cousins or whomever. You just want to build your company up to sell it and live off of the retirement. That's perfectly fine. We're going to build that plan for you, regardless of how many people you have within your operation. So because you guys have stayed with us this whole time, we do want to make sure that we thank you, first of all, for taking the steps that many business owners don't take and protecting what you've worked so hard to build. You're already ahead of the curve just by showing up here today. But like I said, you want to become part of that 15%. You don't want to be that remainder, what is that, 45%? Yeah, I went to law school for a reason, guys, not to do math. So you don't want to be the remainder 45% that says they want to do something with their business and never actually does. And so the next step is going to be get that business continuation plan. So we're actually going to be emailing all of you a completely free, very comprehensive, don't get overwhelmed. Again, we're here to answer your questions. Business succession plan checklist. And it's so you can do your own assessment really on the value of your legacy. Where is the health of your legacy plan right now? And so do you have these certain provisions in place? Do you have these contracts in place? Do you have successors identified, things of that nature? We go through detail with you. You're going to get that completely free. It'll be in your inboxes later today. But then we also want to make sure that if you do want to be part of that 15%, that you, sitting with us through your entire lunch period, that you receive a discount off of our services. So instead of the $2,500, it's only going to be $2,200 flat rate. And that is for the next 5 days. We'll leave that offer open. So if you guys check, you should have a offer available on the, what is this thing called? The webinar. Thank you. Lost my wording there. So there's a live offer right now. And so essentially you book with us, you'll pay a portion of it. The only portion you're paying up front is to book the onboarding call. It's $300. You get in with us for a full hour. We'll sit down. We go through everything with you. And that automatically is going to discount your business succession plan overall by $300. So you'll get that $300 back. And so, like I said, to claim the offer, it's in the offer section. You can click it. It's live now. You just select schedule and you'll be booked on my calendar. If you want to work with Sam, no hard feelings. You can work with Sam too. Like I said, you can work with either of us. And it's going to be valid for the next 5 days so that we can make sure that you are that 15%. And so now what we want to do is we save these last 15 or so minutes. And I would just like to say I'm very, very rarely ever on time. I talk a lot and I've actually made it 1 minute under. So we are going to open this up and do Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. And I want to make sure that we answer. Think of this as, open consultation time, if you will. Of course, we won't be able to kind of talk about any confidential things. So if it's specific to you, we might say, just give us a call and we'll go through that. But if you have general questions about business succession planning, let us know. We're here for the next few minutes. If not, we can definitely wrap up. But thank you guys definitely for your patience. I know I'll keep talking, like I said, as the questions roll in. But, it's been a lot of information. I know it can be very overwhelming. There's a little delay here on our end on the chat. So, okay, it looks like if we want to use the business for retirement, is it best to keep it and make money while, sorry. Go ahead, Sam. My glasses are not working today. What does that say? It's too small for me to read.
So is it best to keep it and make money while it's, so if you want to use your business for retirement, is it best to keep it and make money while it's making money or sell it?
So essentially, I think what Nicole's trying to ask is it best to keep the business, have it generating revenue and save the revenue, or to sell the money or sell the company and use the money that you sold it for as retirement? I've been doing a lot of talking. You mind, or do you want to go?
No, I mean, I can take, yes. And Nicole, so it really just, if your goal is to benefit from the cash flow of the business, then, and you want to rely on that cash flow for the business for your retirement, then that's what you can do. Your goal would be then is to grow your business to a point where it can spin off profits to you while you're gone. Because ideally, so we have some clients who use a model of, as they grow and they start to gradually remove themselves from the business, they actually stop giving themselves a salary and then just take portions of the profit from the business, so that then they can start paying employees greater salaries to kind of take their place. So if that's your goal, then the way you get there is get the business to the point where it's making that profit, determine how much money that you want to be taking every single month, and then it's the protection for you is manifested by having safeguards in place to protect your position in the company no matter what happens. So your company could end up getting sold, but if you position yourself the right way, you can still enjoy those profits for as long as those safeguards allow you to. Or you keep control of the business, but you're out of the day-to-day, so it's still in your name, and you still just continue to rely on that draw every month or every quarter or every week until you are ready to go. And then if it's in your estate plan, it can be passed on to your heirs.
And so, Abby, it looks like you are either about to purchase a company or are in the process of going through it. But it looks like you don't have you're asking, do we do review of those documents? Yes, that's certainly something we can help you with. We'll be able to, depending on what stage, so we'll need a little more information on what stage. Are you at the very beginning where you're working with a business broker, or maybe you're doing it yourself to identify what company you want to purchase? And you need assistance with the due diligence phase, or are you already, contract about to be signed and you want us to review, so you've handled the negotiations and you want us to review that contract? We can certainly discuss with you, see where you're at, and regardless of the stage that you're at, we can definitely do so. Okay, so, and then we have another question here from Raphael.
So Raphael, so the $2,500 is just one flat fee for the actual continuation plan. So no matter how long it takes to execute your continuation plan, you're only paying us that $2,500 and that's it. That's the model that we strive to have with the firm, is you just pay one flat fee for a set of services. The succession plan has additional steps, but the continuation plan is just one fee of $2,500. And again, once you pay that, it doesn't matter how long it takes for us to execute it. You're just paying that one fee.
Yeah, and that's step one in your business succession plan. And then I see you're asking, does it include filing or document fees? So your business continuation plan doesn't get filed. It's an internal document, a lot like your operating agreement for your company. Your operating agreements, we draft those for you, but they don't get filed with the state. It's an internal document on how to operate your company. That's what your business continuation plan is. We definitely keep a copy on our records, but you're going to keep a copy during your continuation plan. That's where we work together to identify, okay, if we take you out of the picture, who's going to step in? So we'll let that person know, okay, this is the immediate successor that's been identified. So whether you keep that in the cloud, in your, if you have certain platform, your office, if you keep it in a safe, we're going to make sure that that successor knows about it, go through it with them. But there's no filing fees or anything like that because there's nothing to file. There's really, with your succession plan in total, so again, this is just the continuation plan, which is step one of the overall succession process. But either way, there's really nothing to file for your continuation plan or your succession plan. So there's no additional fees. We're very, very upfront with that. One thing that we hate, no matter what the business is where you're like, oh, I want to purchase this, and then there's 4 other things you also like, taxes or filing fees or shipping costs that you didn't anticipate. We'll let you know on the front end if there's anything extra. For your business continuation plan, it's $2,500. But again, if you want to book with us and the offer is live, it's $2,200 for the next week. So you definitely take advantage of that discount, so you save that $300. And it looks like that's all of our questions. And I know a lot of you are on your lunch break, so I don't want to keep you past 12. But Sam, is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up here?
No, I just want to thank you guys for your time. And yeah, you know how valuable time is. I really hope that we were at least able to shed some light on just the fact that, you all have said you want to protect his legacy. You see how others do it. You see the product in the real world of these people who are passing down their business to their children and growing their wealth. So hopefully we started to at least illuminate the path forward to getting there.
Absolutely. And keep an eye out for, I echo everything Sam just said, keep an eye out for your emails. Keep an eye on your emails, and you'll be getting that free checklist that I mentioned before. They'll also, if you haven't already booked, I see a couple of you have taken advantage. So I look forward to building your continuation plan with you. But for those of you who haven't yet, we'll also make sure and send out the link, because that link will be valid for the next 5 days. So thank you guys so much for attending, and we'll be talking with you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.